boy, come up off that neck. Into the trends. See Ali be the band.
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. We are here on a Monday afternoon. The first pitch of the Yankee series is at around 6:10, so we're not going to hold you guys too long, but we had to recap the week as we always do. The Detroit Tigers got off to a really hot start last Monday with a major output of runs on Monday. And naturally, that about covered the rest of the week as far as offense is concerned. Colt Keith had 3 home runs. He's finally officially out of the dumps as far as power is concerned. But as I said, we slowed down. The pitchers held their serve pretty well, but the Astros prevailed those last 2 games, and then that brought us to Friday in an important divisional series against the Chicago White Sox, who are ahead of us, and we're back. We swept them. That's the all around short version of the summary of the week. But Coach, how are you feeling at this current juncture, and what did you see this week?
Man, he had to feel good for Colt Keith for sure. I mean, for that monkey, he had basically got the rookie treatment when he finally got his first one of the year at home. I'm sure he was thinking, I didn't think I'd have to endure that twice in the same career. But nonetheless, yeah, he turned Houston Monday night into a launching pad. And McGonigal joined the party with a home run of his own in that game. But it was the second home run for him. You could see it. He was rounding first base, going to second. And he did this little Kirk Gibson fist pump. And you could just tell all the weight of the world had just jumped off his shoulders. And he was having fun because for the most part, he doesn't wear too much of his emotions on his sleeve, even positive. Like he'll cheer, but there's way more of the guys in the team that are way more outgoing and I should say up and down equally. Guys like, Javi and Glaber. Yeah, that was really good for him to see and really to start the week off. But to your point, we ran into a buzzsaw. Hunter Brown came back off the injured list for Houston. He's a guy that you kind of forgot about because he's so young, but he's a top 6-7 pitcher in the American League in the making. He's that good. And then Lambert, the other kid, pitched 7 innings, under 90 pitches, scoreless against us. Just mowed us up and down. We scored 2 runs in each of those 2 games. So tough to say whether it was just bad offense, but seemed to me, based on just the eye test, it was just better pitching, borderline superior pitching, if you want to say that. But yeah, but I think the bigger picture coming out of that series was the fact that Justin Verlander had some timelines pushed back that went into this weekend series, which we'll touch on as well. But also as well, we had a new Tiger debut this weekend as well. A name I don't think we were expecting to be called up. I'll say that much, but at least for me, I'll speak for myself on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, to speak on Trey Cruz, he's somebody that we definitely had on our radar going into spring training. He still had a pretty solid spring training. He made the 40-man roster before spring training. But we know that he's versatile. He can play all over he can play infield and outfield. He's a little bit older, so he's somebody that it was kind of like, hey, let him roll through the Rule 5 draft or give him a shot at some point this year. He wasn't I want to say he got hurt at the beginning of the season, but he hasn't been having a great season so far in AAA, but it was time one way or another, and he's got some opportunities. I don't think he's got any hits yet. He's still waiting on that, but we did get a chance to rekindle with the family, because he is a 3rd generation player. His grandfather was the first of the family to make the major leagues, and also his father did. So it's a surreal experience for him, and I'm sure he'll never forget about that experience. So the Houston series, Hunter Brown, I think he's from St. Clair Shores if I'm not mistaken, but But yeah, he definitely had a strong game. He's fresh off the injured list, but he is a top tier pitcher. Um, and yeah, the Tigers pitching staff, they only allowed I want to say a little under 4 runs per game in that series. So it left some opportunities for our offense to possibly get some wins. But of course, the one game that we scored 9 is the one that they scored the least amount of runs. So it would have been nice to spread those runs out a little bit better. But we left that series 1-2. And fast forward to the Chicago White Sox series. Pretty interesting series. The highlights I saw, Matt Vierling had a home run in game 1, and he also had a walk-off hit in game 3, which we'll get to a little bit more. But, outside of that, Dylan Dingler had a great week overall. I think he went in the week, his average was 417. He had 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. McGonigal had a good week as well. He hit 353. He extended the I think at this point, I think it was the 9th inning. He got a hit to keep the inning alive. And eventually, what would happen? I think Jahmai Jones scored the game tying run. Interesting week for him. He got off the night on Friday and got booed for it. He's definitely on everybody's shit list at this current moment. So much so that even when he does well, he catches some hell over it. But a strong weekend. He scored an important run. He actually legged out a single, which would have ended the game. And they said that his sprint speed. He's average speed, but they compared his his sprint speed to break up that last out at first, and it was comparable to, I think, Corbin Carroll's average. So Corbin Carroll was one of the fast. Corbin Carroll,
yeah,
right,
outfielder, Diamondbacks, yeah.
It was comparable to his sprint speed. So he definitely kicked it into over gear to make that happen. But the Matt Vierling ultimately had the walk-off hit, and I think Dylan Dingler had the game tying RBI single as well. So he's playing extremely well, obviously on both ends of the field. Hyu Lee also had a pretty good week as well. He hit 294. The bat continues to play. He's not the best defender, but he churns out some pretty professional at bats. He's been an important player to have because Gleyber Torres has been in and out of the lineup all year. So Hyu Lee, another young guy that was added to the 40-man roster, who if this season ends up turning around, we'll have. Definitely a guy that we have to acknowledge and remember was, a pretty important part of it. But I want to ask you a question, though. Obviously, Skubal pitched on Friday, and he was okay. He was okay. I mean, I think he only gave up 3 runs, but he has been, guilty of, giving up the occasional home run. And he got into it a little bit with one of I think he was a pitcher. He looked like a coach, but I think he was a pitcher in the dugout. They were chirping back and forth. What are your thoughts on that? We've talked about it offline, but what do you think about him getting into it with the guys in the dugout?
I mean, I don't know what predicated before it, but if you're going to do that, you end the inning, okay, great. Just don't come back out the next inning and give up a bomb, which is what happened. And it cost him the lead, and he was no longer in line for the win. So, again, I don't really have any back info on that, but obviously I feel like it wasn't anything major because that would have preluded that when it went viral. Instead, the only thing that did go viral was just Skubal running his mouth for a good 20 seconds straight after he punch out whoever it was to end the inning, and he goes, "That's for you." And I was like, to your point too, I look at the name of the guy in the back. I'm like, I don't even know who this is. It's not Colson Montgomery or Chase, like a name on that organization that most baseball fans are gonna know. Hell, if you would have said Chris Sale, I would have said I would have bought that because he was there for so long as a White Sox. But to my point, it's like, okay, but you got to make it less about you in that game. We came back, but you had control. You kind of let your motion get the best of you. If you just see edge or and okay that home run. Your point two talk offline. He's quite a bit of his home run. Is a bit unusual.
Oh boy, my bad. It lagged for a little bit. I think we're good now. But yeah, to your point about Colson Montgomery, I think he was the one that he actually struck out. For me, I mean, I do think that it was due to some heckling. I don't know what was being said or if they were trying to throw him off a little bit, but I think that Skubal was one of those players that does thrive when they're a little fired up, a little bit angry. And although he did come out and give up a home run in the next inning, I think that it could have set a tone for the series and fired up the team a little bit because I feel like he's seen where the team is missing something. There's just no fire, no spark, and he can kind of see the season slipping away. So I mean, I think the end result of all of it is the team rallied behind the situation. We ended the series on a walk-off hit. So in the end, I think that he injected whatever because I think it probably wasn't as warranted had we got the backstory to it, but I think the end result is kind of like in the NBA or like in college where a coach, gets a tech, like kind of intentionally, riles the team up, gets a tech, and then flips the switch, and the team goes on a crazy run. That's what it kind of felt like, which is one of the main reasons why I feel like a lot of fans are going to miss Tarik Skubal and want to keep him around for one more go at it because it's been a while since we had a guy. If Tarik Skubal's gone, who is that next guy that takes over and has that type of role? I don't see that guy walking through this door, but yeah, all is well that ends well. We did sweep the Chicago White Sox, who are probably in over their head a little bit, but they're certainly have quite a bit of ground on us, and we were able to get some back this weekend. So once again, we evade the all on crash out and stay in the mix. The Tigers are now 33-44, 7.5 games out of first place, and I believe only 5 games out of the wild card spot. So still in the thick of things, making things very complicated for Scott Harris and the rest of the guys. So yeah, I mean, I think that the as far as recapping the week as a whole, the pitching staff, kind of held their own. I think the bullpen was improved this week. I didn't see a lot of, leaky holes as far as that's concerned. I think Jansen had a couple saves this week, which was important to see. I want to say Finnegan might have got touched up a little bit, but it still remains that outside of that one game where MSU Detroit fans as White Sox show, they were all talking. Yeah, I mean, it's a young group. They don't really have a lot of guys that are able to, step up and really take things over. There's no more, Robert. There's no more a lot of Garrett Crochet, but yet and still a lot of young talent. They were able to get a lot of talent back in that deal. But yeah, the bats outside of the 6 RBI game from Colt Keith, for the most part, the bats were pretty quiet. We were able to scratch out 3 wins this weekend, but you look at the lineup and you see 7, 8, 9. The other day was Outman, Trey Cruz, and Zach McKinstry. The screams of AAA talent at best. So yeah, I don't know. Any closing words as far as this past week was concerned? Any observations you saw?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the pitching was good. The defense has been a little better, but I feel like their defense has kind of been a lull up and down every 10 days or so. It's just the offense still. The runners in scoring position continues to be a bugaboo. They get a lot of their runs from walks with some helps of first to third, and they kind of cash in on some wild pitches or pass balls as well to take extra bases that don't necessarily require the ball actually needing to be put in play. So they're scoring in all the unique ways so far, but it's being able to put 3 innings in a game where you can put 2-3 runs in those innings to score 6-7 runs roughly. That is really what they're needing right now. Because we saw them in May. They had leads in May, a lot of them they just couldn't hang on to. So it's not been the bullpens from the offense, but yeah, I mean the White Sox they're still down Murakami, and they're getting Kyle Teal back, who injured himself during the WBC, who was actually having a really good tournament for his home country before he suffered that. I think it was a foot injury. He took a wicked foul ball off his foot, but so they're still going to be eventually, still figuring things out. But, Cleveland kind of retains number 1 for now temporarily, but yeah, just continued dominance within the division. The record's been getting better against our division the last couple of series, which is good because that's the one narrative we do need to control if we're going to have a chance, ideally at the playoffs. I know wild card we're closer, but I still think it'll be the division most likely. But yeah, other than that, Justin Verlander, the biggest takeaway. I think we need to touch on this real quick because it's kind of a very open and honest and frank and very blunt assessment of his own physical situation right now. I don't know if you've seen or heard the quotes that come out from him last Wednesday and then reiterated by AJ on Thursday at all. But it basically sounds like he's not going to be anywhere close to 100% ever the rest of this year, and he's just trying to get it one more go at home and, a la Undertaker, leave his glove or hat, on the mound.
Yeah. It doesn't look good. It's just one setback after another. Now it's the hamstring, I think. Hamstring?
Yeah.
And we know how lingering those can be. Those can literally last forever. And certainly doesn't help for a guy at his age. And so hopefully we can, float him just one start where it's not, completely necessary to win because we don't know what condition he's going to be in. I'm sure he'll leave it all out there, but yeah, kind of, pretty unfortunate. I mean, I know I was pretty excited and jacked to that he was going to be a part of our run this year. But I mean, he pitched 150 innings last year, started slow, as far as performance wise, but all in all, I mean, he San Francisco got a lot of work out of him. So there was no indication that he was going to just completely crumble and fall apart this year in Detroit. But, here we are. But yeah, I mean, I think in a sense, it probably makes things, it helps us as far as clarity wise. We don't have to worry about taking any starts away from Troy Melton, who continues to look like a future ace, and something that's very encouraging. We're not taking any starts away from Kyler Montero, another guy that we know has a ceiling, but has a decent enough floor to be a back of the rotation guy that you can depend on. And he's not going to just completely blow up the way he probably did a little bit as a rookie. We've seen the tops of the mountain as well. 9 innings, Maddox. So But yeah, let's get updated on what MSU Detroit fan has to say. I know Scooble will be traded, but they forgot they were yapping at a back-to-back Cy Young winner. Yeah, nobody can hold a hold a candle to anything that Scooble's done. He said add Jahmai Jones to the AAA talent. Yeah, we'll see. He's definitely a clubhouse guy. It's very obvious. They like him a lot. They're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. Hopefully, this can be a tale of things to come. We'll see what they got, because I'm sure the Yankees have at least a couple lefties. I think Cam Schlittler is a lefty. So you can't tell me Jake Rogers is worse than Jahmai Jones. Yeah, it's kind of sad that we have both of those guys at this point. Because on any given day, you might see both of them. If it's a day game after a doubleheader and it's a lefty, you're going to see Jahmai Jones and Jake Rogers in the lineup together. Or even Jace Young. Yeah, that's a crazy name. Currently struggling in AAA, I'm pretty sure. But Old Yeller, wow. Yeah, JV. He's
Take him out back.
Yeah, that's crazy. Troy at this point is a starting pitcher. No point in moving into the bullpen. Yeah, absolutely not. Melton and Joe are the two youngs to build a pitching core within this post Scooble era. Absolutely. Kerry hits better against lefties and Carp sucks against lefties. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, and he almost hit one out the other day. Gave it a nice ride against a lefty, but it didn't quite go out. He didn't have a great.
He's the scoreboard out there. Guy had to make a running catch there at the warning track.
you saw it. And he didn't have a good week average wise, but he did have a game-winning RBI single, if I'm not mistaken. He had a game-winning RBI single. When you look at the top of our lineup, because for a while it seemed like everybody's OPS was just below average. But you look at the top, you got McGonigal, he's hitting in the 8s. You got Riley Green in there. You got Dylan Dingler, who's at the top, who's hitting at the top of the lineup. He's hitting number 2 today, as well as Kerry Carpenter, not hitting for a great average, but he does have extra base power. So you got a couple guys that are hitting above average. Unfortunately, the bottom of the lineup is kind of dragging things down. You got Vierling, who had a good week. Hopefully he can build upon that. But you got Torkelson, who's just barely hanging on. And then you got your Outmans, your Jones, your Hyu Lee, who's still below league average as well. You just got too much going on at the bottom of the lineup. But yeah, all in all, a good way to end the week. Started out promising, had a bump in the road with a couple good hitters against Houston, but here as we stand in the lowly American League, very much in the thick of things. The Tigers hitters can be put into 3 groups: youth, core, and others. Yeah, a whole lot of others. I mean, I don't even think you can put Trey Cruz in the. You hear me?
Yeah, we can rename it others. We'll just call it the John Doe Club.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because Trey Cruz is a lot older than most guys on the team. It's like 27.
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, he definitely falls in the other category just off the strength of his age. But let's get to the first break. We're going to talk about rosters when we get back. See y'all in a little bit. All right, we are back. Got some more additions to the injured list. Oh, before we get to the injured list, Colt Keith, of course, after his 3 home run game, misses the next game with a sore wrist. I'm like, oh, only like the best. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Going on?
I got you. No, but yeah, then he came back the next game and he was batting 6th. So I commented, oh, he got a demotion, batting from 3rd to 6th after a 3-run game.
Yeah, it's Yeah, it's just been one of those years. Yeah, the worst thing, the last thing you wanted to see was, oh, Cole Keith goes on the IL like everybody else, which is one place, knock on wood, he has yet to be. I think he's no, I lied. At the end of last year, he got hurt right before the playoffs started.
Yep,
But
that's
yeah,
really the only time though.
yeah. But without further ado, who's new on the injury list?
Relatively light. A lot of the updates have been from guys already on the IL and their progress. Obviously, we just touched on JV being the biggest one as he was going to be activated not once but two different times and had additional bullpens and rehab starts. But in terms of the official changes here, Glaber was put on retroactive to the 16th, 10 days, which activated Casey Mize for his start earlier this week. Wencio Perez, we noted it last week, and he actually fractured his orbital bone in his face from that band exercise accident. And actually, Hinch even stated that prior to the series starting Friday, he actually had to return back to Detroit because the swelling was so bad he wasn't cleared to fly back yet. So that's a really freaky injury. So I'm not sure if that's going to require surgery or not. I figure if it does, that might put him out at least a 30-day beyond that. But we'll see how that progresses. And because of that, they recalled Trey Cruz for his debut. And then in under the radar news, they did make a minor league signing of Kevin Tejada. I have no background information on him, but that is really it in terms of the official transactions and injuries. Although the rest have been rehab, and Glaber was sent to. Did he actually play Saturday or Sunday? They got a cortisone shot Friday was the update, and then he was in preparation for playing some rehab games. So I guess we'll lead that into down on the farm then, I guess. What a little tease there.
No, so yeah, I think it was in preparation for upcoming games, but I don't think that he I didn't see anything that said that he played yet. Great question by MSU Detroit fan. Why still no Max Anderson or Max Clark? That's a great question. And the one I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I didn't see any familiar names. I saw some pretty obscure random guys that made a little bit of noise, but Max Clark was player of the week this past week. He went 7 for 22, which is around 333, because 7 divided by 21. You math majors, it's like 333. He had a double, a home run, and 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and a stolen base. The one home run was had an exit velocity of 105 off the bat and went 411 feet. With Wencio Perez, I mean, it's crazy that injury. I'm thinking, Band comes up, smacks you in the face. Embarrassing. Smacks. You're not thinking he breaks a bone in his face, but sure enough, that's what happens, and that's definitely going to have him out for a decent, period of time. I mean, this is a bone in your eye, right? Isn't orbital? Is that in your eye?
Yeah, it's supporting your eye or it's your cheekbone that kind of in between that area. But yeah, it definitely supports your cheek and your eye area.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty long-term injury. Who's to say how long we're going to have Trey Cruz up? He hasn't looked great, unfortunately. Normally, when a guy spends that much time in the minor league system, I mean, he started the year in AAA as a 27-year-old, which is pretty late. So it's normally that leads that, hey, he's just not ready. We don't see the potential in him after all this time. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked great. I haven't seen a lot of defensive plays in the outfield. I presume he's been all right, but yeah, with Perez out for a long period of time, it kind of leaves a spot wide open. You got Trey Cruz and you got Ottman. I always forget what his first name is, Outman, but he's another. What's his name?
Gage Outman.
No, well, that's Gage Workman. You talking about Workman?
Oh, Workman. Oh, okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah, Jake Outman.
It's something like that. But anyways,
yeah.
He's somebody that he has been great either. He did have a couple RBIs, I want to say, this weekend, but when we're ready to pull the trigger on that deal, we got wide open spots that are available because I don't see Outman being a long-term guy that we're just holding on for dear life. When they're ready to make the Max Clark move, hey, you don't really have to make a tough decision on this one. This one's easy. You can go in one of a couple different directions maybe. I don't think they're trying to get rid of Trey Cruz that quickly, but yeah, I mean, the team is missing, speed. They're missing some defense in the outfield. Vierling's been okay. But yeah, that opportunity is for the taking when they feel he is ready, and he's been hot lately. I think a couple more strong weeks of good defense and him, displaying some power, and it's time to put up or shut up. We got 6 weeks before the trade deadline, and if you ask Scott Harris right now, he's going to tell you we're staying put. Scooble's not on the block, and we're trying to win. And if you're trying to win, you got to put it all in there. Pause, but no use in waiting till we're out of it or we've traded Scooble. Make the next move your best move. Would be my assessment for the situation. But that's pretty much all we have from the minor league report is a rant about Max Clark. I'm not saying that it's negligent at this point, but I mean, how many different injuries have we had so far in the outfield? Wenceel Perez, Meadows has been out for years. Javi Baez essentially is another center fielder. I mean, it's not for lack of injuries or everybody's just playing so well or everybody's just so healthy. I don't know how to I don't know where to find room for them. Like, no, you went out and got Outman, and DFA Zach Short, leaving a roster spot wide open for Max Clark if you wanted to, if you felt the time is ready. So, yeah, Outman is the short term. Obviously, Clark is the long term. Trey Cruz is also not playing great. Hold on, we got Trey Cruz is at least a top 30 prospect. Jake Outman is one of those journeyman guys who gets signed a minor league contract someplace. Yeah, absolutely. No reason to not give Trey Cruz an opportunity. Hopefully, he can get off the schneid soon. I feel like he will. But yeah, might as well give him every opportunity. You utilize the 40-man roster spot for him. So let's see what he looks like in the infield. I think he's only played outfield so far. Max Clark is going down the Sebastian Cossa path. Oh, don't say that.
No. Cossa was pulled during a 24-1 start with Grand Rapids. Max Clark starting every day pretty much in center field. I think there's a bit of a difference.
Both the Red Wings and Tigers have great minor league systems. Yeah, both let their top prospects ride away to minors when there's a clear need for them. Hey, at least McGonagall's here. That's all I can say. Clark at least got time on like you said, yeah. You guys are on the same page. So any other thoughts about the Clark situation before we fast forward to the upcoming games? Or well, we got some other stuff.
If they set for another injury in the outfield and they sign another journeyman guy, I think I've lost my last shred of legitimately wanting that. Like, I don't know. We can't keep blocking people when there's a clear need, and to your point, speed, power. I mean, he may not hit 15 home runs if he stays up the rest or anything like that, but the guy's got gap to gap and extra base power and stolen base power and center field range that we miss badly, that Parker has left that void. To your point of, Vierling and Perez have just been okay, but they're really, Perez is really a corner outfielder. He's not fleet of foot, and Vierling, although he generally is okay, doesn't take the greatest routes to balls, and it just makes all the sense that it's hilarious that it's still not the option they're choosing. So we'll see what happens. If they continue to do that down that path, then I can't take them seriously, at least from a front office standpoint. But yeah, that's it in terms of Max Clark.
And MSU Detroit fan says if we trade Torres, we gotta call up Max Anderson also. That would be great, honestly. As much as when Torres is available and healthy, he's great. We saw him in the Tampa series. He had a bomb, probably one of the furthest balls he's hit as a Tiger, fresh off the IL. But at this point, we just don't know how long any bad swing, any swing and miss that could possibly strain his back and or oblique. You just have to be ready for him to go on the IL. So if we can get anything for Gleyber Torres at the break, by all means. I don't want to. I mean, I'll take Hyu Lee and Max Anderson every day over a maybe from Gleyber Torres at this point. Anderson is the infield young guy, and Clark the outfield young guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm excited to see both of them. I hope they hit the ground running as soon as they get here because we need something. He said not just Coastal, also for Rebels prospects stuck in GR, NBN. I don't know what's his name, but do you know what his name is? Should have gotten more time with the Wings, not under emergency conditions. He's we got a couple goalies.
I think he's a Swedish guy. NBN, I think, is a Swedish prospect. They have him, if I'm picturing the name correctly. But yeah, he didn't have too much time up. That's a totally other different situation with the GM who has plenty of cap space and just won't pull the trigger.
Oh man, yeah, this guy's name is Brandon Brandseg Nygaard.
Yeah, Nygaard. Yeah, I knew it was like Bjorgen or Bjorgen Nygaard or something. I just was not going to try to butcher it as bad as I just did right there. But yeah,
it's crazy.
Limited time with the parent club, essentially. But yeah, that's all I had in terms of Max Clark, though.
Yeah, and then there's also you got Ben Malgeri having a really good year. I don't want to complicate things any more than we already have, but we and I get it. Ben Malgeri, they're obviously not very high on him. He's a little bit older. How old is Ben Malgeri?
Guys hit
26.
What, 13? He's got 12 or 13 home runs this year, right? I think in Toledo, I think were the numbers we were talking about earlier in the week.
He's got 9, but he's hitting 8. He got an 897 OPS, 401 on base percentage. He's just not held in high regard. I mean, he's had a good spring, but he actually got sent down to Double-A last year. So they obviously don't think that, I'm sure he'll get a crack at things probably next year, maybe. But, if he's 26 and hasn't got to the majors yet, they obviously don't believe in him all that much. So, I don't want to, he's not on the 40-man roster, so no need to complicate it. But obviously they feel Outman is a much better option, at least on the defensive end, than Ben Malgeri. He said, I get Whitecap starting lineups every now and then, and Bryce Ranier is the only guy I even know. Yeah, last year I knew everybody. Zach Pacheco, who I think is on the line, is still there. But, the Whitecaps were super stacked last year, especially up until before Briseño and all those guys got moved up. So it's kind of time to start retooling that farm system that churned out some championship teams just last year. So yeah, that's all I have as far as the farm system is concerned. Good conversation there, but let's talk around the league. Any hot topics? I have a few personally. I can set it off if you want to, but yeah, any thoughts so far on? Around the league thoughts.
It pains me to say, Philly didn't get off to a great start. In fact, they were probably one of the worst 3 or 4 teams after the first 30, 40 games or so. Made the change at manager. One of, I think, 2 teams early that moved on from their manager. Don Mattingly took over, and it was just like chef's kiss for them as they've battled back to within shot distance of Atlanta and also the Dodgers, shockingly, for the NL lead over there. But not too much else around the league that I think we know. Teal will make his debut for the White Sox. He's kind of a coveted catcher for them. Cleveland is going to be an interesting spot. They have some interesting decisions too, although they're the division lead right now. Stephen Kwan not having a very good year at all. batting still around 170, 180. I know he's still looked at as potential Gold Glove caliber outfielder, rightfully so. Covers still a lot of ground out there, but they've kind of been soft sellers in the last year or so. Remember, they made some trades out who we thought, Naylor went out to Seattle. They traded him in the offseason. It was more of cost-cutting moves, but they're somehow still getting better. So that'll be interesting to see where he goes and if Detroit meddles with interdivision trade at the deadline if it comes to it. But if they're both in the hunt, I wouldn't expect it. But yeah, I didn't have too much else in terms of around the news. I got something on Dingler, but that's more for an individual.
Stephen Kwan. It says that he's hitting 206 with a 567 OPS. I know there were rumors last year that the Dodgers and Phillies could be interested in acquiring him. I don't know if anybody would touch him this year. Certainly not for anything valuable, because he's kind of we're now at a point to where he's got a pretty considerable sample size. So tough to say whether he'll snap out of it, but yet and still they are in first place somehow. J-Ram's out. It's kind of annoying because when I follow the minor, the minor league, Instagram, every time I look up, it's another Cleveland Guardian, stud coming up through the ranks. They just seem to just, grow them on trees. Travis Bazzana, I think, just had a multi-home run, game or something like that. But it's just the rich getting richer as far as, not going out and getting all the big names, but they're producing them at the minor league level and keeping the payroll nice and low and the win total high enough. So honestly, I don't have much Tigers talk to folks on the NBA and NHL drafts coming up. Oh, okay. Sounds like the Pistons will move up and involved in a Giannis trade as a third team. We're gonna stay focused on the Tigers, but yeah, as far as around the league, the Marlins are hot right now. I think they're 14-4 going into June. They had a couple injuries as of recently, but a team that I definitely saw to be a possible contender. I think they're in the mix as far as the wild cards are concerned, but they got Kyle Stowers back. They have Otto Lopez, who's having a career year. Xavier Edwards too, a good young second baseman. So the Marlins are looking good. Did you get a chance to see Rafael Devers and that whole scandal about he got a hit in the 9th inning, and of course they were down a run, as San Francisco normally is down. And the manager, the new manager that coached for Tennessee last year, called for the pinch runner, a speedy guy that can steal a base. And Devers kind of showed up as manager and for a minute refused to leave the game. Now he eventually gave in because the pinch runner is just standing at first base. Like, hey, can I? Like, I'm not going to stand. You can't stand on the base together, and I'm not going to make you move.
Yeah.
Devers, pretty big guy. But the coach told me to come in the game. But
he's like, hey, he told me to. He did.
Yeah, me. Oh yeah, Liam. Yeah, I'm getting sidetracked, but the Marlins got Liam Hicks. Liam Hicks is pretty much a all-star. He just went on the injured list, but he was traded in the Carson Kelly deal, where he went to the was it Carson Kelly? It was one of our catchers that we got off of. I think it was Carson Kelly, but he's having a really good year. But yeah, so
Texas Rangers.
So eventually he did lead the game, and the teammates tried to acknowledge, hey, good job. You got a hit to keep the game alive, and he was mad and didn't want to say anything, and then didn't say anything after with the media, but. And we joked about it like, hey, we'll take Rafael Devers, and but it's starting to become a problem. Obviously, you got the new young manager The team's struggling. They're already selling. They said Chapman is, it could be available. Devers could be available. Who's their shortstop? Yeah.
So Willie Adames?
Adames. I was going to say Paredes, but not Paredes. Adames. And so, yeah. And then obviously they had the whole issue with him having to move off of third base in Boston and all that mess. But, what do you think about that whole situation? And he's somebody that teams will be reluctant to go after because of incidents like this.
I mean, the production alone would question its warrant without, having to request a decent amount of either prospects back or money to help offset, his large, AAV. Because if he's now just primarily a DH, that's not what he got paid for in his extension. So I'm not going to be looking to we'll take 90% of that on. No, we're paying for half of what he's going to be physically doing. So he might be landlocked in San Francisco for another year or two, because that extension was no short-term one either. So they might not have a choice to retool on the fly or try. I mean, I don't know what you're going to get for Chapman, some of those guys. I mean, if they're just selling off rentals that are having marginally okay years at best, they're probably not going to, it's going to be a rebuild. And frankly, for Louis Vitale, the new manager, that's probably the best case. He kind of can then put his actual thumbprint on the makeup of the team going forward, have some more say on draft coming up as well in terms of impact position that they can use with their top end picks, and kind of reshape the future of that organization. But Rafael Devers, as far as his concern, is prima donna tactics. They're probably have to bite the bullet for another year or two, kind of like the Tigers had to do with Javi recently. And just hope that he starts to come around offensively and then becomes more attractable as a trade option going forward, but probably not for this year.
Yeah, and he's not having a terrible year. He definitely had a slow start. He's kind of picked it up a little bit. Right now he's at a 238 average with 11 home runs, 36 RBIs, and 735 OPS, which is about league average as far as the OPS is concerned, but obviously certainly well under what he's being paid. He's still on the books for, I think they said like $200 million or something like that. San Francisco, will probably be willing to eat some of it to get a return. But yeah, Adames just signed last year, and Chapman just signed a deal last year. So these are guys with a lot of years obligated left to them. So yeah, who knows? Who will have the opportunity to move, but none of those guys are having particularly great years. So, but that's that. Let's get back to the Tigers. We are not too far away from the All-Star game. We got a couple guys, justifiable names that could end up in the All-Star game. Probably not starters, because I don't think we've got the votes necessary for that. But who is in the hunt to possibly represent the Detroit Tigers in the All-Star game, wherever that is, because I don't know where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, the three were pretty much going to be McGonigal, Riley, and Dylan Dingler. At least in my opinion, are three guys that should be starters. Riley I was thinking potentially, just his power has been a little bit down, but his average has been up and walks are up, strikeouts are down for him too. But absolutely McGonigal and Dingler, considering what they've been able to do so far this year. McGonigal obviously being the rookie, and some of the numbers he's putting up before the age of 21 are just, kind of mind-blowing still. And Dingler's not just his combined clutch now hitting, but his overall defensive ability with ABS, a success rate, not even as a catcher, but as a hitter too. But but unfortunately, those three don't even have enough votes as a starter right now. I think McGonigal is one spot down, but he's like 400,000 votes away. Dingler was third, so he would have been left as an alternate or needed that extra fan vote to get in as a backup. But those are three, in my opinion, that definitely deserve to go. In my opinion, they deserve to start. Purely based on that. But in terms of pitching, I don't really. Kind of tough just because everyone's been missing time and other guys been hit around a little bit here and there. But I mean, Finnegan has had a pretty good year overall, top to bottom. He's just had some inopportune innings here and there that have hurt overall, but he's had a pretty good year, walk issues aside. But in terms of fan voting, those were the early release, I think, before heading into this past week, as we still have, I think you said about 6 weeks left before trade deadline, which precedes the All-Star game about a week or so before.
Yeah, got some interesting names on here. I mean, Shea Langeliers is definitely having the best year overall as a catcher, but I'm pretty surprised how many votes he's getting as a Sacramento A. Like, they are really going all in to get him on there. A lot of Toronto Blue Jay guys. Alejandro Kirk, like, that's wild. I think, Ernie Clement. I think Ernie Clement has the most votes of everybody. Well, probably not more than Ohtani, but he's got 2 million. He's destroying the race at second base. More than Bobby Witt, more than Caminero, more than Aaron Judge. Like, what? Is he like got some like famous girlfriend or something? How is this even possible? I don't know. But yeah, he's leading the way so far from what I've seen. Hyun Kim was a crazy one. I don't even think he's a everyday player he's not an everyday player for the Dodgers. Where's Ohtani on here? Okay, 2 million. So Ohtani's at 2,300,000, and Ernie Clement is at 2 million flat. So he's right up Ohtani's heels. That's pretty crazy. Look, he's even got the picture on the graphic. So yeah, interesting. Not surprised. I mean, the Tigers, if we're a first place team, I put up more stink about it. But I hope, if nothing else, McGonigal will get many, many, many opportunities to start in the All-Star game and play in the All-Star game. So I'm not really worried about that. But I think that Dingler, it would be unfortunate if he didn't get in. Other than that, Riley Green, was he even on the list? The top 5? No, probably not.
No, I think he was the first. He would have been after the 2 primary and 3 underneath. He would have been one more outside of that, like 7.
Yeah. So Mike Trout's hurt right now. Of course, he's kind of a legend in the game, so I can see why he's up there. Aaron Judge is hurt for the foreseeable future. Those top 2 guys are hurt, and top 3 injury prone. So there might be some hope for Riley Green. Because he's probably having a better year than Randy. I don't know about Julio. Julio always starts slow. So, Mariners, they showing out in the outfield. But yeah. So that's our All-Star talk. The game started. Everybody's going to the game. All right. So let's wrap it up then. What are the probables? Look, let's take a last break, and then we'll talk probables and, wrap this bad boy up. All right, who we got coming up?
Briefly before the starters, I did just want to point out some of the Dingler stats here that we've got, because it would be a shame if he doesn't get the All-Star nod, but I mean, he is in some crazy company right now. As of yesterday, he had the same amount of home runs as Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, and Mike Trout, more than Ohtani, Harper, and Gunnar Henderson. I mean, that's a lot attributed to the last 3 weeks. His June has been incredible, especially the last 10 days, 15 days. But this kid deserves some MVP love, even if it's like 8th, 9th voting, wherever he gets just some. He's raised his average almost 30, 40 points in the last 3-4 weeks with this month alone. Hitting now almost 270 with 9 multi-hit games, 7 home runs, 12 extra base hits out of 27 hits, 21 RBIs, and 17 runs, with almost a 1,200 OPS and a 1-rated WRC plus 141. And he's still expected to continue this trajectory for a little bit longer for season averages. But you're potentially looking at a guy that could get 30 home runs, 30 doubles, and 110 RBIs for the season, which, oh, by the way, only 3 other players in the organizational history have been able to do that in the last 30 years. And that's Prince and Miggy in 2012 each. And actually, Riley did it last year with his totals. So he'd only be the 4th player to do that in the last 30 years. And that would be a massive milestone. But now that I'm done tooting that horn for a fellow backstop, they start the 3-game series this week with the continue their homestand through this weekend, starting with 3 against the Yankees. Valdez against Garrett Cole tonight, who's also made his return after he missed all of last year after suffering near a season-ending injury in 2024. He's been off to a fairly good start. Not too much. He's been giving up some runs the last outing or two. We're hoping to get to him for that. Tuesday, Casey Mize against Carlos Rodon. And then the matinee is Skubal against Weathers. So some good, strong arms for us going forward. And then we welcome the Astros back to Detroit after we saw them last week. Troy Melton will kick it off Thursday against Amai. Friday will be Montero against Arrighetti. Saturday will be Valdez against Tang. And Sunday will be Mize against Hunter Brown. With a quick peek ahead of that, as we near the Independence Day weekend, they go back to New York to see New York to wrap up, I think, their season series entirely for 3, and then fly to Texas for 3 against the kind of slowly lurking Texas Rangers and the potential AL Cy Young candidate, Jacob deGrom.
Yep. So the Tigers get one more crack at Tang. That's the guy that gave up the 3 home runs. Well, he didn't give up all 3 home runs to Colt, but we kind of jumped all over him. So we'll get to see him one more time this year. Just closing statistics on Dingler. He's getting it done in the clutch as well. Hitting 300 with runners on. 297 with runners in scoring position, and 390 with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Doesn't get too much more clutch than that. Comment. Oh, man. We had a comment. Oh, Troy in the building. What's up, guys? You still believe in our season, or do you guys think we should trade everyone away? Well, I think we both know that Scott Harris doesn't have, the cojones to – pull the trigger on the Skubal deal. So, with the inevitable run that's coming, I think, especially with Cleveland likely to slow down. Unfortunately, Minnesota is actually probably the hottest team in the division for some strange reason. So we'll have to contend with them. But we've been better against our division as of late. So if we can handle business with New York, who's the judgeless New York, play better against Houston, who's right ahead of us in the wild card race, we're gonna be floating around that wild card and divisional race. And I just can't see Scott Harris unless he foresees, because genuinely speaking, unless we're not a World Series team, you got to get something for school. And teams are going to be clamoring around that time to push themselves over the edge to be a World Series team. So we should be able to get a couple of top 100 guys out of that, from school. And more or less, he pitches 1 every 5 days. We don't necessarily win every time he goes out there anyways. At least you could get a couple bats, maybe a pitcher that's ready to go now. I mean, you might make your team better by spreading out the value of a Tarik Skubal. But like I said, nobody wants to be the guy that trades away the superstar and screws it up and gets Jake Rogers at best. That's what happened with the Verlander situation. Jake Rogers was the best prospect that they got out of all of that. So, I don't know. I think that we're going to go on that. We're going to go on that run, unless we just completely ish the bed versus the Yankees. Then I say this is the time now before we start playing good again. Just make a decision now. But yeah, if we, get out of this New York series unscathed, he's going to be like, well, we're in the race. Don't y'all want to try to We've done it one more time. Keep the
Just
boys
another excuse.
last time. It all breaks up. So I don't know. And do you think the fact that we're probably not going to have baseball next year, does that help or hurt our case for trading Schuylkill in your opinion? Do you think that increases the likelihood or lessens it?
The practical thing should tell you with common sense that it should help, because if you don't, then you're literally walking away with nothing but a lame compensatory pick that is the odds are uncalculable in terms of what player you're going to get. They lucked out on McGonigal because that was their compensatory pick that they received in the last draft. They caught lightning in a bottle, which I swear is like a once in a 20-year kind of capture, considering what he is doing in front of our own eyes this year. So that's not guaranteed. So yes, I think you do make that trade for prospects. No cash. I'm sorry. I mean, I know we're moneyballing it over here, but we need the prospects, like you said. Ideally, if I could get one positional player and a pitcher out of that, to your point, like one of them's got to be in the top 12 to 15 from there, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, gotta be two prospects. If it's a ready now guy, sure, but yeah, it definitely helps him, I think, because if not, then they could potentially overpay, but at the same time, I don't know what their compensatory pick will be in the new CBA. So that's even complicated. So yeah, I think you rip the Band-Aid, you do it now, then you can worry about the control of the prospects later.
Yeah. And I got two more questions, and we're going to abruptly end because we're kind of going over a little bit, but they said that the new agreement could possibly mean no high school picks. What are your thoughts on that? Scott Harris won't know what to do. McGonigal was a high school pick. Max Clark was a high school pick. Bryce Rainier was. Jordan Yost was, who I didn't get a chance. I think I answered him about Jordan Yost. He loves high school guys. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and drop the rounds from 20 to 12. So, and they're going to angle to really open up the door for the international players, not just the international, pooling money that they're allotted and capped at every rolling 3-year period they get to spend, and then it kind of recoups or whatever. So that's going to really change the dynamic. At the same time, we talked about too briefly, there's not a ton of money in NIL for college baseball. It's really predicated on if you happen to be an Alabama, a Michigan, a Oregon, a big brand name, successful college football program that's able to kind of share some of their wealth around, and also through some of the shared revenue that most universities have in agreement with their programs to kind of help lessen the burden financially a little bit, and stretch that out. But yeah, I mean, that would completely reshape everyone's approach as a front office going forward. It'd be more recruiting in college, which is kind of the opposite of college basketball. They're just buying players left and right. They're not really recruiting high school much anymore, but this is going to put the focus on it, though. The growth in college for sure, which I think is probably the better channel because baseball desperately needs it. It doesn't get that much from ticket sales. Parks aren't that huge. College World Series, great. Actually, Game 3, final game tonight, by the way, on 15 minutes as well. Game 3 finale for the Men's College World Series is tonight. But it's a great show, but regular season doesn't draw. It just doesn't unless it's a top 10 team.
Right. And Troy says if we could get Sheehan and Rushing from the Dodgers, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I tend to agree. You could just, obviously Rushing is a catcher, but you can just DH him. He's probably the best bat option for DH at this point. But I don't think the Dodgers do anything like that. You're going to get a prospect. You're not going to get somebody that's already ready, I don't think. They never have to be that desperate. Last thing. There was reports about, obviously, George Lombard is a pitching coach. His son is a top prospect for the Yankees, and they said there could be some possible, talks about some, I don't call it nepotism. He's already in the league, but that the Tigers might be, interested in getting him. He's kind of a glove first, not a big bat guy. And then LaGrange, who's the big arm that we got to see a little bit in spring training, but he throws 100 plus. He would be the major, pitching wise would be the major pull, but not feeling that, huh?
Not really. No, I mean, yeah, we've had our defensive issues the last year or two for sure, but I mean, you get one glove, it ain't gonna fix what we got going on. That's not Dylan Dingler. I mean, the problem's all over the place. We've got 3 of the worst negative D-WAR players on the roster at 3 individual positions. We also have 1 or 2 that are at the top, so they need a bat. They need to prioritize someone that is a good bat to ball, exit velo, barrel percentage, because that's what we need to drive in runs. That's how close we are. 4-2, 3-1, 3-2, like those type of games we're losing, and that kind of bat could get us that extra 1.5 run a game that could flip that win percentage over by 20%. And to your point, hell, we could be in semi-buy mode right now instead of in between soft and hard sell mode.
Yeah, it's really just that close. Just depends. It literally could depend on how this series goes right here. It just seems like every series we bounce back and forth, like, sell the team, not sell the team, but sell away the assets, time to, look towards the future. And, next thing you know, you sweep the White Sox and it's like, oh no, it's lit. We back in, it for one more time. The boys are back. Don't let them get hot. So, like I said, it's going to be an abrupt ending to the show. As it stands right now, it is 1-0 Yankees at this current moment. Torkelson is on second base, and James, I think his name is James Outman, is up, right? Whatever. So, yeah, as it stands, we're 7.5 games back at first place, 5 back in the wild card. And, check out the game, subscribe to the channel. We're here every week. If it's not on Sunday, it's probably on Monday because there's some type of holiday. We're here every week bringing you guys recaps of the season, and we're getting closer and closer to the All-Star game and trade deadline. So stay tuned. The Tigers are still floating around. But
the little engine that could.
We'll see you next week.
Get your lick back. If a nigga do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat.